She'd give anything for that to be the first time one of the unhinged attackers viewed her through the same vortex of dreams she saw them. Andrew wouldn't take the news well, as this perpetrator murdered his victims. She thanked God for guiding her car to the gym without a catastrophe, and that she didn't drown with her equilibrium unbalanced. It hadn't taken her long to realize that she should have listened to the good doctor. Madison stole a glance at the odd male beside her who drove the ugliest green monstrosity she'd ever seen. It qualified as a truck, as in 4 wheels and a bed, but the vehicle literally reminded her of a monster. He helped her up into the cab because it stood so high off the ground. The tires alone were half as big as her. Somehow it managed to fit the man beside her to a T. He filled the space of the driver's seat with his powerful presence and strong physique. From the top of his dark brown hair to the boot-clad foot pushing on the gas pedal, he had an aura of being in control. The thought occurred to her she hadn't gotten his name. Yet another point deducted from her intelligence for allowing a stranger to take her home without even learning what his parents called him. Something in him quelled any doubts about her safety. Though in her experience one couldn't judge a book by its cover, he put her at ease on a level she didn't understand. Even the sight of her mangled car hadn't been as devastating because she had him by her side.
Name's Brian,
He said as if he read her thoughts.
Madison. Madison DeWalt.
Ugh, they'd established her name already.
So, Ms. DeWalt, do you want to stop off at the ER before we reach your house to ensure you didn't do any further damage to that head by swimming? No. Maybe a wrecker for the little red shoebox?
Not necessary, thank you.
She sounded simple to her own ears. He must think she had the sense of a daft woman. She couldn't explain to him the concussion came from a dream, and if she had her life stopped every time she bore a new injury, she'd never leave the house.
Like music?
The question took her by surprise. She stared at him a moment before she noticed his hand on the knob of the radio.
Yes, I do.
She didn't know what to expect when he turned the sound on, but Pachelbel's canon wouldn't have been it. The soft notes took the tension from her body and rejuvenated her soul. An honest man in a monster truck that listened to classical music, it appeared she rode home with the strangest person she'd ever met. The moment she closed her eyes to enjoy the audio masterpiece, a dream sequence took hold of her senses that rendered her immobile. Though awake, she couldn't seem to tell the difference between the view from her eyes and the second set of eyes she had access to. The same man who ruined Madison's sleep hours ago went on a rampage. His anger crackled off him as he seethed through clenched teeth. The woman Madison saw through, noticed him and decided to give him a wide berth. Just the simple movement put his attention on her. In broad daylight he pulled her off the street and into the dark SUV. Though she kicked and screamed, he shoved a dirty rag over her mouth with a nasty taste and overpowering smell. She gagged and choked on the foul substance. Madison willed the victim to fight consciousness long enough to take in the surroundings so Madison could learn her location. As if the women were one, her eyes opened. Madison transcended to the other woman and assumed control of her body, something she'd never done before.
Where are you?
Madison demanded. Help me. The panicked female's voice ripped through Madison's mind. She experienced her fear, groaned as the drug took effect and weighed down her limbs.
Madison?
Brian's concerned tone edged out the kidnapped woman's presence, but Madison fought hard to stay connected and ignored him.
Fight the darkness or you'll die. Tell me where you are.
The attacker's violence escalated when his victim didn't slip into unconsciousness right away. He slammed his fist into the side of her face. The blow staggered both Madison and the woman just before she gave up the fight to stay awake. She whispered her location: Main Street and 6th. The connection broke and Madison returned to the present with Brian.
There's a first aid kit in the glove box with an ice pack. I suggest you use it before your injury swells up.
She blinked a few times but couldn't believe what had just happened. She never dreamed awake before. Without a thought to how he understood she needed medical assistance, she followed his direction and took the squishy plastic bag out of the small compartment. Her fingers shook as she snapped the inner compartment and felt the immediate cold against her palm. The soothing cool eased the throb which had begun to pound at the side of her face.
Seat belt on tight, Main and 6th is faster through the park.
Madison knew how to save the woman. As they drove through the bumpy terrain of the park, she focused on the woman. She curled and uncurled her fingers to ensure she had control of her body and apologized for using her like a puppet. The violation of her sense of self had to beat the alternative of death. How was she doing this awake? 6th and Wilshire. Madison prayed Brian heard her as the car slowed to a stop. In a burst of energy, she forced the woman's body to sit up and attempt to get the door open. The strain staggered Madison, but she had to maintain the power. She had to save this woman from a fate with the monster in the driver's seat. God smiled on their efforts. The attacker hadn't bothered to engage the locks. It took 3 tries, but rear passenger side swung open. With one last glimpse through the other woman's eyes, Madison stared at the man in the front seat as he bellowed with both shock and rage. Taking a literal leap of faith, Madison jumped out of the SUV and landed hard on the pavement. Please, God, don't let anything hit her. She did her best to roll away from any oncoming vehicles. A loud squealing of brakes roared around the woman, and Madison knew she had a chance of escaping. After Madison opened her eyes, her gaze found his.
Welcome back.
Brian said. He held out a tissue to her. She stared at him in confusion but took the wafer-thin paper when he gestured toward her face. She wiped her nose and looked down at the bright red streaks of blood. The last time her nose bled, she'd still been young enough to sit on her father's lap. Why would she get one now? The pressure in her head deprived her brain of the oxygen she needed, and she began to wonder if she'd remain conscious. She had to find out what was going on.
Who are you?
She demanded.